Yo, 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 what's going on, YouTube? It's your boy Nathan Great coming at you with another live. You already know if you're new to the channel, like, share, comment, and subscribe. To all the returning friends and family, you already know it's peace and blessings. Give y'all some time to tune in case these notifications ain't go out. First things first, you already know. Hopefully, everybody having a blessed and productive Monday. Hopefully, everybody was able to smoothly get through the workday. Hopefully, everybody was able to get through the school day. Those celebrating birthdays today. Hopefully you're enjoying yourself or about to enjoy yourself. Another year, another blessing. You already know what it is. Um, Continue to keep adding great things to your life. And keep on making memories as you're supposed to. And if you are able to see another year, give your praises where it's due. Geraldine, baby. Appreciate everybody that tuned in last night for the conversation. Definitely had to hit on some key points and elements. Like I said, I'll definitely be revisiting that at some point. Didi, baby. For those that missed it, you can definitely catch the replay. I think we had a overall great conversation last night. Can't complain about it. And like I said, these are the type of talks that are needed. Now, tonight's title, as you see, I didn't veer off course. It really is time for change, baby. It's time for some of y'all to change the aspects of the way you think and the way that you move as far as what you do in life. Like I was saying to a degree, um, if you planning on building with somebody, and that means building on all aspects and all cylinders, then guess what? You know what you need to do. Camp, what's going on, my guy? But if you're gonna build with somebody, at least be sure that that's the right person for you, and make sure that person is definitely gonna stick it with you through thick and thin. That's the key element to a strong family build or just a strong build with a significant other. Some people fail to realize that. You know, that's all I'm saying. It's just simple mathematics. Again, you have to be able to make a clear choice in what you're looking for. It's not always so much as what you want. It's what you're looking for. Like I was saying last night, if you desire something and that's something that you really are trying to push forward towards, then guess what? You got to make sure that all of your things are in order. You got to think about it. You're sharing a portion of your life with somebody. And that's time that could be given to somebody who actually wants it or somebody that actually might, need it. I've always felt you block blessings when you don't allow certain things to flow naturally. Like I said last night to a degree, there's no need to rush anything, you know. Now I'm speaking to those that need to hear it. So again, if it don't apply, let it fly. You know, I'm speaking to those that need to hear it. Because again, when you're thinking about things, you start getting that real notion of, you know, this may be better for me. Maybe I should make this opportunity work. For some of y'all, again, it's time for you to change the mindset. You know, again, the grass is not always going to be greener on the other side. You know, if the grass is greener, I've always believed it was for the people that deserved it because they got a rough end of the stick the first time around. And now they actually found something that is conducive. They found something that's definitely going to give them that peace and balance. That's on both ends. But you got some men out there too who have been through the ringer, but actually ended up finding something that was conducive, found something that was, you know, on the same level, on the same page. Because again, that is the key element. I said it, baby. You got to think about that. You know, yeah, there are some people who have been through the ringer, if you say so. You know, and this is probably their blessing now. You know, it's nothing wrong with that. You know, but the majority of the other times, we know what it really is. You know, some people have this mindset that they could just do better. And for some of them, in all actuality, they block their own blessings and mess themselves up because they probably did have the best thing. See, again, you gotta think about it. D Truth, what's going on, my guy? Been a minute, my guy. Full world with you, man. You gotta think about that. If you are lucky and fortunate enough to find somebody that really does compliment you on all cylinders, why take the opportunity or take the risk on destroying them? And I found that some people really do that just because I think it's just my opinion, what I've seen, it seems like it's just people are scared. You know, they don't know how to receive that. And to be quite honest, you are supposed to receive certain things in life. You know, you are supposed to receive some form of assurance. You should be rest assured that you are going to be with somebody who, again, is going to be able to weather the storm with you. And if you do plan on trying to build, even when it comes down to building a family, oh, you got to definitely be on, you got to definitely be on the same page with everything because it's supposed to be a united front. Angela, baby. And that's all I'm saying. It's about time to change that mindset. Some of y'all messing yourselves up out of opportunities, but then also, in the same token, some of y'all being bitter about the situations. Like prime example, there's some people who are bitter that they exes moved on and probably found somebody or found something that was way better. You can't get mad at nobody but yourself when you push that person away or you found a way to, you know, alienate that person. Again, some of y'all have to be careful with what you say and how you say things to people. Some people will take that as a blatant disrespect. And once they feel that way, they can be right out the door. Some people are not looking for all the riffraff. Some people are just looking for peace of mind. Peace and soul, period. And when you do find somebody that does fit all of that cylinder, guess what? It's your opportunity and it's also your duty to make sure that everything remains tight. It takes two to build something strong and build something foundational. Like I was saying yesterday, it's just about order and balance, not about control. In some instances, some of y'all messing yourselves up because you're trying to control every scenario and situation. And to be quite honest, not a good look. Again, there are certain conversations that when you're coming together as a whole, you gotta sit down and have them. And again, have to be balanced. It has to be logic over reason and emotion. And for some of y'all that are on the verge of going through some form of either breakup or separation, before you think of doing that, make sure that that's the real decision you're going to make. Because when you make a certain decision, once a person is out your life, That could be it. And you will have nobody to blame but yourself. There's some of y'all that are running away from simplest things that are minute. If you were supposed to be building together, there should be no running away. So, James, what's going on? I see you up here with the cups in the chat, man. BMF, what's going on, my guy? I smell lottery tickets. I smell lottery tickets. You already know if y'all just tuned in, hit the like button. But like I was saying, to a degree, it's time for the mind change. You know, it is time for change. It's sad to see what the family structure has become in some instances. You know, there's some of y'all who, again, have already started building. So my thing is, try to find some form of balance and reason and work things out. Hood, what's going on, my guy? Who else popped up in here? My bad, y'all. Catching up with the chat, man. Hey, yo, Hood, hold on, son. I just thought about something too, man. Where my jersey at, man? Where my jersey at? But yeah, you gotta think about that. I mean, when you do have something that definitely fits you, I mess it up. You gotta think about it. The next piece you do get, it might not fit as well. And any form of loose ends or anything that ain't really cemented or solidified, it's gonna rip apart. So, so again, you have to be accountable and responsible for yourself. You gotta think about it. When you are trying to find that special someone, there are some things you are supposed to take into consideration. You know, and in the same token, you gotta value whatever it is that you might be, blessed with, regardless. But like I was saying last night, to some degree, for some of y'all, you think you just gotta go with your first option. Sometimes you don't have to necessarily do so. Because again, if you feel like somebody's supposed to be a priority, you gotta make them a priority. You know, yeah, you got options. You got an option to decide if you really are going to try to build with somebody, or if you're going to let them find somebody who's willing to build with them. Like I said, don't rush it tonight. Again, you gotta value yourself. Lady Shay, baby. Again, it's time for a mind change. It's critical now. Some of the fellas out there, and I'm speaking to those that need to hear it. So again, it don't apply. Let it fly. There's some of you out here who are willing to go life and limb just to grab something up. But you gotta think about yourself overall. You have to, because some of you will put yourselves in a position to where it could be life altering and changing. You know, there's some of you out there who are putting yourselves in all sorts of scenarios, and then you'll be mad with the world. But can't be mad with the world when you decide to make these decisions regardless. You know, I've always believed that the brothers should be out here protecting themselves, even if they are going to be out here doing whatever. And I say the same thing for the ladies. Y'all should be out here protected at all times, especially if it's somebody that you're not planning on building a family with. Giving yourself to everybody and anybody, and you're not being aware of the situation at hand. Reproduction will be a thing. So don't think that it's not. So it only takes one time, and that'll be it. You will surely get a rude awakening, and then 9 months later. So it's time for y'all to think about the overall structure of things. But again, you also got to think about again what fits you solidly. Like I would advise the ladies, prime example. If some of y'all, again, know what the situation is with somebody you might have a little thing for, your goal should be not to create a family with that person, especially if that person don't seem family orientated or don't seem like they're ready to commit to that type of anything. And fellas is the same way. Gotta be careful. Again, they are still making protection and contraceptives for a reason. You know? It's about being wise, you know, and again, being accountable for yourself. Self awareness at its best. You know? Time to start thinking about that. But again, it's about balance in life. At some point, you have to be in control of what you're going to place in it. If you are going to share the ride with somebody, then both of y'all need to have a clear head. Both need to have aspects and expectations that should be reasonable, met. And guess what? Y'all should be able to move forward with whatever you're going to move forward with. You know, but some people don't think about it. Some people just think for the moment. But you have to remember, you can't think for the moment when you're supposed to be placing somebody special in your life. You have to think about the long haul and the overall terms of things. And you both got to be willing to fight for each other, not fight each other, fight for each other. Again, it's about just natural balance and order. And to be quite honest, in some situations, uh, if you don't be careful in what you're doing out there, like I said, it's going to be hell to pay. Fellas, some of y'all out here trying to lay your seeds in just anybody and don't care. That's the most irresponsible thing you could do, especially if you're not even going to be a part of taking care of children. And again, this is for those who need to hear it. So if it don't apply, let it fly. I think that's a problem. You know, being irresponsible like that, it does create some form of unbalance, no matter how you look. Again, fellas, I would tell you to be easy and strap it up if you are going to be irresponsible. You want to be out here just doing whatever with whoever. At least be protected at all times. But I would mostly say be careful of your interactions as well. Ladies, it's the same thing because there is no going back once you go to that level of building. Once a child is involved, it should be all about making sure that child is raised adequately. Serious, baby. And I feel that that's the most important thing. Again, key element of building a strong foundational family. You both got to be able to make some adjustments, compromises, certain instances, sacrifices for the better. Fellas, if you know what you're looking for in a lady or looking for in a partner, you should really start looking for that. And in the same token, once you know or once you already have that general gist that you have it, don't mess it up. Got to be true, you know. You have to be able to again communicate on all levels. Also, you want to make sure that the person you're building with is not going to switch up on you. They're not going to try to throw you through the ringer. And you definitely don't want it to be a situation where your kids could be used as a pawn. So you have to be mindful of the woman that you are choosing as far as trying to build and grow a family with. It's really not rocket science, to be honest with you. Again, you got to know exactly what it is that you need and what you require. And then you start to build in motion from there. When you do find somebody that's well adequate enough to do so, hey, now it's time for y'all to lock in. Lock in on all cylinders. No gray areas, no breaks, no nothing. This is a person that you are going to build with and try to grow old with. And to be quite honest, you know, there's a small handful of people who are out there being irresponsible to some degree. And to that small percentage, it's time for y'all to switch it up now, man. In my opinion, the most irresponsible thing is building a family with somebody or trying to build a family with different people. Never works out. What's going on, sis? What's the question? I'm catching up with the chat. I'm catching up with the chat. Appreciate you, serious baby. Working hard in these damn security cameras, baby. No, but you know, you gotta think about it. How hard is it for you to make a decision on something, especially when that decision feels right? You gotta be willing to take certain risks in life, or you gotta take certain leaps of faith. But again, when you know you have somebody who really is a key piece and the main piece that you've been missing, might as well go all out. Times of choices. Well, guess what? You have choices in life. We all have choices in life. We all have choices that we can make. you can have a choice and options as far as different people you might want to vet out, especially if they are somewhat, you know, hitting on all levels of whatever you have on your list. But when you are choosing to pick somebody, that means you are definitely locked in with that person. That person is locked in with you, and you plan on going the distance. Once you make a choice in somebody that you are trying to share your life with, there is no going back. You know? But if you're both locked in on the same page, it's a beautiful thing. Where Diamond, baby? See you up in here. See you up in here. That's really the difference, at least in my book. You know, everybody has different, aspects of things. But when it comes down to me and how I look at it, again, you have choices. But when you decide to choose that one person to build with, that means you made a solid decision and you are willing to go as far as possible. You know, that's the thing. I say this on both ends. You know, you have to be locked in with somebody that you're building with. Because when you're not locked in, things can happen. In some instances, you could be having something going good, and it'll take the slightest outside interference to create a hellstorm. That's why I said, fellas, when you locked in with somebody, there should be no doubts, should be no turning away from. Caught, baby. Appreciate you, sis. And happy birthday to you too as well, baby. Appreciate you, sis. Hope all well with you. Now, I can't comment on your shorts. I can't comment on them for some reason. I hate them. I hate them. And I found out why, sis. So, but this is all I'm saying. On both ends, it really shouldn't be that hard to lock in with somebody. You know, a lot of y'all gotta just stop allowing the outside interference. Hence why I said gotta be a change of mind. It's time for a change. It's time to go back to what we knew as regular dating. No high expectations, no none of that. Again, but be preserved in what you do. You know? And I'm gonna be honest with you, for some of y'all that need to hear this, there's no way you can tell me that you locked in with somebody, but you willing to run away at the first sign of distress. Something ain't going right, and you decide to just try to move away from somebody like that. It don't make sense. You know? Appreciate you, Lady Shay, baby. Appreciate everybody that tuned in. Appreciate everybody that showed the birthday love and all of that. Like I said, just another year and happy to see it. But yeah, fellas, when you locked in with somebody, it shouldn't be hard to keep focus on that one. I've heard some brothers cry over the years because they messed up on something good. And even when they did find something, it wasn't that same feel like how they first had. I believe in some instances that's exactly why there are some scenarios that taking place the way it is. Christy, baby, my birthday was good, sis. My birthday was good, y'all. Definitely had a good one. Got my time off like I needed, so hey, I made the best of what I can make the best of despite the weather. Yeah. I mean, this is my thing. You should have expectations, but again, they should be reasonable. Super high or even out of this world expectations, you're not going to end up finding nothing. You probably done been wasted half of your good time or your good years searching for something that's impossible. Again, you have to be reasonable in what you looking for. Most of y'all going and making these lists just off your wants. No, you got to think about your needs, your basic needs. Denise, baby. Again, you got to think about it. You got to prepare yourself for life in general. You want to be locked in with somebody for life. I know there's some situations that don't necessarily work out. And some it could just be again, it's outside interference. But again, some of you need to lock back in and change your mind on specific things. Like again, not having over exceeded expectations. It should be. I honestly feel, in my opinion, some people should just be looking for peace, honesty, loyalty, communication, love, and respect. You know, and you have to be on all. You have to be on all cylinders with that. You know, and the minute that you feel like there's some red flags, or the minute that you feel like certain things are not hitting the way it should hit, this is where you have grown up conversation. You know, because I believe in some instances there are some people who probably could still, reconcile and maintain something that they once had going. But again, when there are certain things that are out, going to be hard to because somebody's always going to have something to say. But I've always said when you're building with somebody, there are some things that should just remain behind closed doors, and it should stay that way. It was just like I was saying one time before. It's like nothing is really sacred because some of y'all will place everything out there on the table. It's not everybody's business to know about certain things that you do. It's not everybody's business you know, to be locked into what you're doing. And I think that's important. Again, preserve yourself. Keep things sacred the way it's supposed to be. When you telling everybody your business, and I'm speaking to those that need to hear it. When you telling everybody your business, telling them even your most intimate details, guess what? You set yourself up for some form of failure or letdown. You're creating the option of doubt. And there should never be doubt when you are building with somebody, especially if that person hasn't really done nothing to destroy the balance of what you're building. can't compare your relationship or your dealings with somebody with everybody else's. Yo, baby, I'm sorry, but you got to know when to just keep things under wraps. You know, whatever ain't present or whatever ain't been presented in public don't need to be put out there in public. You might have doubts about certain things, but if you are having doubts with certain scenarios with your partner, you would want to, at some point, and I mean at some point again, have that talk with them behind the scenes and not put that out there in the public. You know, there are some people who, again, you'll never know too much about them because they don't put too much out there. And whatever was put out there, that was because at some point it was going to be put out there. We've had scenarios back in the days where there was people who cheated on each other, right? And we didn't know nothing. We just thought they had a good, loving family. Whether it was right or wrong, it didn't matter. The point was nobody knew nothing because it wasn't nobody's business. There's some of you men and women out there who just can't keep your mouth shut. Sorry to say it. Not everything needs to be broadcast. And again, if you plan on trying to build and continuously build with a person, then again, you need to keep that communication line open at all costs. Again, when you locked in with somebody, there is no doubts, no second guessing, there's no going back. Yeah, I mean, think about it, Chrissy. Again, it's not everybody's business to know what goes on in your bedroom. Prime example. It's not everybody's business to know what you feeling or what you might have gone through with certain situations, especially those private situations. Ain't nobody business. Like I said, whatever ain't being presented out there, don't need to be presented out there. And if it does, it should be a mutual thing. Oh, all right, this is something we could talk about. Could probably give somebody advice, probably somebody who went through this, or like it's different things that you might bring out the other. But everything else, keep private. Appreciate you again for dropping those links, serious baby. Working hard in these damn MTA trains, baby. But yeah, just things to think about. If you're going to build with somebody, then there are some things that should always remain quiet. And again, it shouldn't be out there. You know, the worst thing you could do is try to embarrass your partner. And there's some people out here right now who are paying the consequences now for doing so. Because once you embarrass your partner in public, no matter what it is that was said or done, that person is not going to look at you the same. In some instances, those people definitely might just leave, and they would have rights to. There's some of y'all again just can't keep your mouth shut on certain things. Time for you to change that mindset. Again, it's about careful decision making. You know, exactly. Yo, that's what I'm saying. In some instances, I just had a uh, stream about that a while back. Again, there are some things that, regardless to what your scenario is, you know, like prime example, if you had a fallout with an ex, if that ex hasn't done anything to put you in jeopardy, or if that ex hasn't done nothing to out you and expose you, or just put you on front street, why would you feel the need to do it? You know, like I said, if a person ain't put out something personal about you, you shouldn't be putting out personal about them, especially if you claim to move on. And like I said earlier, in some instances, some people are never going to find true happiness because they are stuck on one person. How long you going to be stuck on somebody that you no longer with? How long you going to be bitter? Like again, if you push somebody that you did have that fit you well, and you done push them into somebody else's arms, why not just be happy for the fact that they did find something? Maybe that should be a sign for some of y'all to say, well, maybe I should get my shit together. Maybe I could find that right happiness. But again, some of y'all are gonna have to change the way you think, the way you move, the way you handle people. Like prime example, there's some of you ladies that you're not gonna be able to keep a man if you sitting over here being combative all day. You gotta have the last word, or you gotta be right even when you're wrong. Some of y'all, again, the way you talk to a man, again, if anything, you're supposed to be trying to uplift that man and keep that man on his toes. You are playing a key critical role in that man's life, you know? You expect somebody to stay with you, especially somebody who might have high values and morals about themselves. You think that man gonna stay with you long, or continue to allow you to do certain things that are breaking the foundation? No, gonna leave straight up. So again, it's time for y'all to really think. You're supposed to be trying to build structure, and you need a person to build that structure with. How you gonna build your firmament with somebody when you're not allowing that person to do what's needed or do what's necessary? Again, everybody has their roles when it comes to what's needed. That should be the most important thing, is what's needed, not so much as what's wanted. You want to maintain a great relationship or a great bond with somebody, again, learn to keep certain things under wraps. Learn to sit down and have those conversations when needed. And when you feel like you're not getting what you feel you need, or things just have completely went down the shitter, then in the same token, that's when you decide, okay, well, I've done all that I can. I see that certain things are not changing. Time for me to move on. Find somebody again that's conducive to you. And again, for you men and you women out there, if somebody is not your first option, or if they're not your priority, don't waste time. Because again, you never know who could be around the corner for that person. Nah, it's a whole fact, serious. You know? See, again, some of y'all have unreasonable standards and, and expectations. And I'm sorry, but it's not going to happen. If you keep adding on to a list that's already long enough, chances are you're not going to get everything. Like I said last night, it's almost like a shopping list. You could want to put everything on there. You could put more than 50 items on that list. You're gonna keep adding to that list even before you get to where you're going. Guess what? It's a possibility that you get there. Ain't gonna have half of that stuff on the list. So again, either you have to go back out for something else, which you shouldn't have to, or deal with what you got. As long as you got the most important items that you need, shoot, all that other stuff is just wants. You know, again, you just got to find someone that's conducive to you, that suits your standards and needs. And again, once you have that, be serious about it. Should be no questions. And that's what I'm saying. It's an importance to remember. Again, you know, you have the solid option of possibly building with somebody who, again, could be your perfect fit. Even though we know ain't no such thing as perfect, but it could be that piece that you've been looking for, that piece that you've been needing. And if you find that rare, diamond in the rough, don't mess it up. Be happy with what you got. And that's the thing. Some of y'all want everything. You could create a list and it could be a reasonable list, and then you want to keep adding on, keep adding on, keep adding on. But in the long run, it's just like I just said, it's like a grocery list. You might get half of the stuff you got on the list, the other half you're gonna have to either go back out and get it, or again, just make do with what you got. Serious baby. Now take some of that good old coffee that James is offering. Free coffee for everybody in the chat. Free coffee for everybody in the chat. Those in the shadows watching. Free coffee. Free coffee. We got French vanilla cream if you need it. However many sugars you take, we got you. James, get the coffee trays ready. No, but you gotta think about that though. You know, if you keep adding on and keep adding on and keep adding on, like I said, you're not gonna get everything. And then now you're gonna keep trying to go for the gusto. You're gonna keep trying to go out there and find things that you might not be able to find. And if you find it, it might not be exactly what you're looking for. So again, be reasonable. You already know, yo, baby. Stop hating on the transmission fluid, baby. Again, this is why it's important to have talks with people. Like I said, change the mindset. Get back to how we used to court and date people. Stop having super high expectations. Stop always looking for the right now and think about your future. You know, because once you make certain steps and choices, even if you don't plan on trying to make something long lasting, you are still gonna be tied in with somebody. But yeah, like I said, for some of y'all ladies, it's time for y'all to change your mindset and how you talk to people. especially the ones that always cry more about there ain't nothing good out there. There's good men everywhere that you could be looking, or there could be good men that you ain't really look at all. Because again, you focusing on certain aspects. As long as that person does you right and makes you feel like you're supposed to feel and protects the way they supposed to protect, and it's showing you that again, you know, they want the best for you as well, then stop worrying about everybody else's opinions and expectations of what you should have. You should know what you need. And again, if you desire it, you're going to go after it. But make sure that's the right choice that you're making, the right decision, period. Again, it's time to change that overall thinking process. You know, some of you are limiting yourselves, or again, stopping yourselves from finding somebody who really has true potential to make your life worth it. Fellas, it's time for some of y'all to start standing up on what you need to stand up on. And for some of y'all, again, it's not about control. Again, I'm speaking to some of y'all fellas out there. It's not about control. It's about balance and order. You want to be able to say, I'm finding peace and finding solidarity with this person right here. And I'm willing to do what's necessary to make sure we on a great playing field. And even if we decide to take it further than that, I want to make sure that there is no second guessing. Going back to no drawing board, or having that holy union messed up because of everybody's views and opinions about us. That should be the mindset for some of y'all. Straight up. Black out, what's going on, my guy? I ain't messing with you, Christy. I ain't messing with you. I'm not messing with y'all. Don't start y'all madness tonight. James, please bring out the extra coffee creamer for everybody. We in here. We in here for a little bit. And apologies for the little fake win you might hear. Other than that, pretty decent tonight. But this is all I'm saying though. And I'm gonna say that for anybody of any stage and any age. If you are back out here on this dating field, chances are if you do land something, you gotta make sure again that it's conducive to you. You gotta make sure also that again, y'all have the common ground. Y'all know what to expect from each other. Y'all know how to move accordingly from there. Again, it ain't rocket science. But in some instances, there are some of you who are going to have to change certain aspects and cylinders of things in order for these things to work. Not saying change who you are as a person overall, but if there are certain things you feel need to be changed or you feel can be upgraded, you do what you got to do. The goal is to find somebody that's going to bring you peace, that's going to keep you uplifted. And again, the love will be blossoming and long lasting. That should be the goal for everybody. But then again, I know not everybody does think that way. There's some of you who want to live traditional in the modern era. And in some instances, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen because, again, not willing to do what's necessary for the growth and development, you're going to keep having situations where you're going to keep striking out. Again, you should know what you need, what you seek from a person. And if that person does, again, fit that, then you try to bond from there and see what happens. You know, to me, I felt like after a couple dates, you should know if this is somebody that you really want to build with and continuously move forward with, or if that's just going to be somebody you're going to be cool with. You know, again, it's not always about wants; it's about needs. You need to be loved, right? You need to be respected, right? You need to be honored. And I'm speaking to some of y'all women again now. Some of y'all claim that y'all want that, but how can you expect that when you either tearing down or coming down hard on the person you expect that from? You can't expect nobody to be for you or take care of you, and you're not taking care of them. It's supposed to be a fair exchange, you know? But if you're not sure of what you're looking for, your best bet is again to remain single. Now I'm speaking to those who need to hear it, even for those who might catch this somewhere in the future. If you feel like you don't truly know what you're looking for, don't rush yourself into any scenario. Setting yourself up for consistent failure and consistent heartbreaks. But, it's just time again for y'all to start remembering. You know, there's a difference between being strong and being combative. Being strong is being able to weather through the storm, especially when your man might be down or your man might be going through certain scenarios. Your husband could be going through certain scenarios. You could be strong in doing that. But being combative, consistently arguing and nitpicking and going back and forth with somebody just because it's something that wasn't done your way or something that you didn't get, or that becomes a problem. And that's a good thing, serious. And that's how it's supposed to be on both levels. Got to be open and honest with each other. Like I said last night, y'all need to get back to the old ways of things. Taking interest in either one, guess what? If y'all both taking interest in each other, guess what? Then y'all need to be upfront with certain things that you are looking for. But don't have no expectations. Like prime example, some of y'all are still with this expectation of the minute you meet a man or the minute that you might be going on a date with somebody you just met, they gotta pay for everything. They gotta do this, they gotta do that. No. Be quite honest, you have to split it down the middle until you get to a certain point. That man takes you as his wife and decides whatever, then it is what it is. But while you just dating each other or just getting to know each other, stop having your hands out for shit. And I'm gonna say that on both ends. Some of y'all just look for the come up or look for whatever that you think you could utilize. Nah, not the way that shit works. It's not. That's why it's important to make sure you with somebody that's not with you just for their benefit, but they with you because again they believe in you and they are willing to take the chance to ride with you, and because they actually have strong feelings about you. That's how it's supposed to be. But you already know, Christy, baby. I know a lot of y'all been busy. A lot of y'all been dealing with families and stuff. I know some of y'all just been in the shadows watching. I still appreciate every last one of y'all that support the boy. You already know. Appreciate every last one of y'all for listening to these talks. But these are talks that are needed. Again, it'll build a better foundation on certain things. And the way things are looking right now, it's all twisted because everybody has crazy expectations. At some point, gotta be reasonable. You know? Some of y'all going or making your decisions on who you choose to be with or who you giving yourself to just off looks and all. Looks can fade on either end. Looks can fade. Remember, older you get, know, older you get, even if you keep the same facial structure, everything else is going to change about you. If you was big, at some point you're going to be skinny. If you were skinny, at some point you're going to be big. So on and so forth. You got to take into consideration everything that could be a factor. And stress is one factor I believe that will damage you physically, mentally, and spiritually. You don't want a headache if you don't want to be responsible for certain things. Again, stay single until you're ready to share your world with somebody. So many men think women want money, gifts, the right ones. Hold on. The right ones want a man, time, effort, honesty, loyalty, and arranged communication. I mean, you were hitting on something right there, serious. I mean, and this is the truth. Be quite honest, when it comes to us, you know, I can speak at least for myself. When it comes to me, I don't require much. The main thing I require more than anything is just respect and honesty. Everything else will follow suit. You can't even offer that, or if I feel like that's something you can't offer, I'm on to the next one. I don't care if you got money or not. I care about none of that shit. That's the furthest thing from my mind. I get my own. I'm self sufficient. Hood, what's going on, my guy? Yo, Hood, man, listen, man, I need my Michael Jordan jersey, son. Stop playing. I need my Michael Jordan jersey, son. Serious, lock the door. Hood can't leave that, damn it. Want my shit, damn it. See, we gonna have a ball fight here tonight. I want my jersey, son. I hear you, serious. I hear you. I mean, like I said, everybody has different preferences and what they're looking for. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't have expectations and standards and qualities that you look for in a person. But again, let it be reasonable. You know, not everybody's going to land a dream partner. You know, it's very rare that some people will. You know, so again, you got to be happy and be blessed with abundance with what you do have. You know, and I feel that's important again. You know, that's why I said when you find somebody that you really could vibe with, it's time to lock it down. But if you feel like you're not trying to be locked down or you feel like you're not trying to do certain things, then again, you should think twice before wasting that person's time. That's another thing that we fail to realize. Time is not always on our side. And if you're not sitting there spending the time with somebody who, again, values you overall and values what y'all have, it's pointless. I think that's important though. Again, know yourself and then know what you seek. Know what you need and then you move forward from there. You know? But again, communication is the main step. And it will always be the main step. Without strong communication and without strong sense and awareness, guess what? You know, things can always go left, especially when building with somebody. You know? Again, respect is the most important thing. Have respect for yourself, and then you can have respect for the person you're building. You know, that's the thing. You know, when you learn to have that strong communication with somebody, guess what? You'll find out. You know, you'll find out that you do have things in common. You know, but again, nobody wants to be with somebody if there's no peace involved. You know, you already are going to go through certain things with building, which might test you. But again, it's about having overall peace within the family or peace within that structure you're building. But again, if you just, channeling on the mental note and the spiritual note, what you're looking for won't be so hard to find. You know? And again, for some of y'all, you gotta have a little more respect in what you do. Can't talk to people any old type of way or try to make them feel less than. And then when it's all said and done, now when you see that these could be the options that really was for you, now you want to crawl back. One thing I would say for some of y'all ladies out there, and even for some of y'all fellas out there, a person that is knowing of self, knowledge of self, knowing that they need what they need, if they not getting it, you decide, oh, you want to push them to the curb or threaten them to leave. When they leave, again, they will not be coming back. So again, you got to make sure that's the choice you willing to, or decision you willing to look. So again, don't be quick to push somebody away and think that they're gonna come back, or think that you might have a chance, because it's rare you're gonna get that. But it is time for y'all to change the mindset of how you speak to people, especially people you are trying to grow old with. Again, have the adult talks when needed. You know, it ain't so hard to do. Like I said last night, and I'm gonna say this again: the dating field shouldn't be so hard and so unpredictable. You know, it should just go back to natural balance and order. See somebody you like, see somebody you might be interested in, have a conversation, try to see if you could schedule some form of a date or some form of whatever. Take time to get to know that person inside and out. Believe that's the way it should be. Not expecting money, not expecting this, not expecting that. No, all that comes later. Right now, find out if you want to have a solid foundation to build with that person on a mental and spiritual level. Again, everything else will follow suit. And for some of y'all, if you don't change your mindset, especially those that's just looking for all the handouts and material shit, you're gonna find out you'll never find true happiness. And when you decide you really want to settle down, nobody gonna take you serious. Nobody gonna take you serious at all. Now, that part of it is over for tonight. Now, when I also say change the mindset, or it's time for a change, now I'm going to get to the nitty gritty for some of y'all. It's time for a change. It's time for some of y'all again to start getting yourselves in order. Start really locking down, especially those who have families. Like I said, the world around us is changing. So many different things are happening right now. It's time for y'all to get on the same accord with things. And for those that need to hear it, especially those in critical situations that probably might not really even be that critical, it's time for a change. For the lazy people who don't want to get out there and apply themselves to the world around them so they can build, grow, and be prosperous, it's time for y'all to change that mindset of laying on your ass and doing nothing all day and thinking that you're going to reap the benefits of doing that. No, it's time for some of y'all to put yourselves out there, get your get your feet dirty, strap on your boots, get to being a grown up again. Because again, there's some of y'all who think that somebody's supposed to take care of you. No, you're supposed to take care of yourself. You're supposed to take care of your own bills and situations. You can't expect people to pay your bill of living because it's not going to work. Not going to happen. No. But in all actuality, again, it's time for y'all to get it together. There's some of y'all who crying about there ain't no opportunity, there ain't no nothing for you, but you're not really doing the due diligence and research. You're not taking the time and effort because you done got acclimated and got accustomed to just being lazy and thinking that you could live off the land for free. That mindset has to change because things are changing. And in some instances, the things that are changing or the things that can be getting cut, you're gonna have no choice but to get out there in that work field and do something in order to maintain your bills, in order to maintain food in your house, especially those who got kids. Some of y'all got this mindset that you don't want to work. Prime example. How do you not want to work? How do you not want to do something that's going to elevate you and yours? You're going to have to start from somewhere. Like I said, for some of y'all, you was crying about this situation with the stamps. Like I said the last time, I feel bad for those who, might have to suffer. But in some instances, I don't feel bad for those that, again, utilized and made this a living. Again, you setting yourself for boundaries and you setting yourself up for minimal growth when you're just relying on all of these assistances and programs. I'm gonna delve into that conversation at some point again. But again, I think it's time for some of y'all to change your mind on actually trying to put yourselves out there. Not saying you gotta work for somebody forever. If you got that mentality that you want to be your own boss and do whatever, you still have to start somewhere. You still have to save up and make money so this way you could do what's necessary. Like I said, change the mindset. It is time for a change. It's time for some of y'all to start doing what's necessary for your betterment and your growth. And by relying on all these damn programs that you really don't need, I'm speaking to those again who are just utilizing and taken away from those who really need it. If you know ain't nothing wrong with your ass, get up and go to work. Get up and go make a difference in your life. You won't believe how some people cry and mope about working 20 hours when again you got people who are working 40, 60 plus. Some people live at work. Shit. Sure, don't nobody want to be stuck there for all those hours out the week. But in the same token, how you gonna eat? How you gonna maintain your bills? How you gonna maintain your cost of living? So on and so forth. How you gonna be able to make a difference? How you gonna be able to save up so you could elevate and move a step forward if you ain't willing to move forward? And I would advise again for those who are not in these situations yet or could be in these situations. If you don't need any form of assistance at all, stop applying for the shit. Apply yourself to life. It's not hard to do. You got to get up, grind, and you got to get up and do something that's conducive to your life. Like some of y'all been coming on these platforms and crying and moping about how unfair it is and all this other stuff, right? But at the same token, you don't think it's unfair for some of y'all that have utilized and basically almost crippled that system. You don't think that is you don't think that it's unfair to those who really needed it? You crying about working a certain amount of hours when you have people who again can't get no form of assistance. They gotta fucking make do with what they got as far as working, whether it's a career or not. How long are some of y'all going to stay in that lazy mindset? How long do some of y'all really think you're gonna keep making living off assistances and programs a lifestyle? And then some of y'all coming on here and bragging about it. So if you can come on here and brag about that, you should be able to get out there and brag about you actually getting to an actual bag. Some of y'all don't even realize you are sitting over here giving out all the wrong advice when it does come to certain scenarios. You're teaching people how to game the system when you don't need it. And in some instances, you better start learning from what you have seen. Because the people that thought they was going to get away with this stuff, at some point, they paying the price now. Let's not forget about that. Paying the price now. So again, if you don't need it, if you are able-bodied, if there's nothing wrong with you physically or mentally, get out there and go apply yourself to something. Go take the necessary steps in bettering your life. Find something again that you could get down with. And if you do have useful skills and talents, better put them to good use. Like I said, you got to think about that. You sitting over here trying to, you sitting over here trying to be all, be all braggadocious about living off the land and not doing nothing or not having to do nothing just to gain these things. But now you see what's happening now. For some of y'all, you might have already been affected. Now, in some instances, this is why it's time for you to change your mind on how you are going to proceed with the rest of your life. Because even though there is a budget set to the side to allocate for and still give out SNAP benefits, it ain't gonna happen. And you wanna know why it ain't gonna happen? Because again, this is a wake up call for some, especially those who came on these social media platforms and basically bragged their asses off about how they finessing the government. Oh no, they're gonna be on your asses now. So it's time for some of y'all to really start waking up and wisening up to work. But some of y'all that are trying to use the kids as elevation and leverage can't keep doing that. And for some of y'all, you having all of these different damn kids with different people, and nobody is trying to step up and do something. You got to be again accountable and careful and responsible for what you do, ladies. Same thing with you fellas out there. Again, y'all better get back to the notion of building with one person and not multiple people. I would say for some of y'all who are in these positions right now, especially those who are still able to work, instead of you coming on and crying about that shit, get out there and go find a job. I remember saying something like this a while back in one of my lives. If it wasn't for a certain program as we speak, right? Some of y'all would have to get out there and do what us men are doing. Going to work, finding something to do. But it's sad because again, for some of y'all ladies and some of y'all dudes out there, y'all crying about certain shit, but in the same token, there's nothing wrong with you. Apply yourself. That mindset of I don't want to work, I shouldn't have to work, I shouldn't have to do this. They owe me this, they owe me that. Don't nobody owe you shit. You owe it to yourself to get your life in order. You owe it to yourself to build and elevate and grow. Stop being so entitled. Stop being so prideful. There's nothing wrong with getting out there and making an honest living or working for something. Guess what? You know who's not complaining? The people who are actually working. And I'm not trying to throw shade. It's not judgment being thrown. It's just reality and logic. Keith, what's going on, my guy? Y'all already know if y'all just tuned in, hit the like button. If y'all new to the channel, like, share, comment, and subscribe. Honestly, the government spoiled them. Some people take advantage of the system, made it conveniently easier to get these benefits. I know some people most into place. And that's the truth. That is the truth right there, serious. And that's what I'm saying. You know, it's, the mindset should change, man. That's why I said that victim mentality. Nah, it's time for y'all to elevate. It's time for y'all to put yourselves in a good position and not always have to rely on any form of assistance. Like I said, those programs are made for those who temporarily need help to get back on their feet. It's not a program for y'all to make it a generational living. Like some of y'all have sat here and cried about certain shit, but then when you hear how long you've been on this shit, it's like, at what point did you decide you was going to try to stop relying on it? All right, it's different if you really down and out, you need help, especially if you could be young. You might not be in college. You might not be able to find something right then and there. You need some form of little temporary help or whatever the case is. Cool. But how long you think you was gonna be on it? 10 years, 12 years, 20 years, and some of y'all that are crying have made that shit click. You is relying on this stuff forever. At what point would your mindset say, let me get up and do something that's actually going to be beneficial for my family, just in case if things do change up as far as this government is concerned? Y'all didn't think that far. Y'all just thought as long as there's money pouring in, and especially this is taxpayers' money. Let's not forget that. These is taxpayers' monies that's helping y'all asses. How long you think you're gonna live off somebody else? And that's what I'm saying. Again, you know, at some point, you know, you have to, man. They haven't aligned themselves with job skills. They always complain about there's no jobs out there. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. All of these little free things, like serious, you hitting on some good notes too, because it's true. People hate to hear that, but again, it needs to be said. And you can't sugarcoat it because again, when you try to say it in a decent way, people act like they don't get the message. How long you think you're gonna possibly be living off the land before at some point you have to give back? Or you wanna have to do for yourself or do for yours? Give me 1 second, y'all. That's why I said it's important, y'all. It's important for some of y'all to change your mindset because things are changing. And if they decide they're gonna cut some of these things for real and cut them for good, what y'all gonna do then? Some of y'all ladies out there, before you decide to rip and run and have all these kids, you better think twice because you're gonna be responsible for feeding mouths. Same thing with you fellas out there. You better be responsible. I'm gonna say that again on both ends. Before you decide to rip and run and try to create all these different kids, and no, no, no. You better make sure you're in the right space before you do any of that. Because if they do decide to cut some of these programs for good, what y'all gonna do? You're gonna have to eventually get out of the work. And I sat there and said that one day. It was almost like a precursor, in my opinion. And I said, if they didn't have, or if they would decide to cut some of these things now, what you gonna do? You have to get up and go work. There ain't no lay on your ass. If you're gonna lay on your ass, you're not gonna eat. Your kid's not gonna eat. And what's gonna be the issue then? That issue's gonna be you because you deciding not to do what's necessary for you and yours. You know. So I said it's time to change the mindset. It's time for a change. It's time for some of y'all to again be thankful that you don't have nothing physically wrong with you or mentally wrong with you. Y'all should be thankful that you at least able to get up and do something for yourself. About that time. That's why I designed a program for my nonprofit organization. That whoever gets supported to help with my program, person has a plan to be successful working or going to school. I hear you, Christy. That's what I'm saying. Some people are just not applying themselves. Again, it's time for you to think for yourself. Time for you to want to be a better self. And again, just sitting back, relying on living off the land. It's only going to be it's only going to be meaningful until a certain time frame, and then you're going to have to put back into the land. So, like I said last night, It's time for some of y'all to start making better choices and better decisions. Oh, another thing I did want to say, and again, I would say for some of y'all women out there that need to hear this. Some of y'all already heard the situation with the brick lady, right? If you don't know, she got sentenced to 10 years probation. She's banned from social media for 10 years. And if she decides to try to do anything and violate that, she could be doing the whole 10 years. I think she's in jail for 60 to 90 days. Got to do a drug program. And you got to pay back $42,000. All for lying about a serious attack or lying about a situation that didn't occur. The sad part about that is some people who are still defending her thinking she's a victim. Delusional. It's time for y'all to start living in reality. Because for some of y'all, this should be a lesson right here. If you want to do certain things and lie about certain things, trust me, there will be receipts given. You know? And when those receipts are given, you're not going to be able to duck the fight. Just like if you coming on here, if you coming on areas, or even if you going in these precincts or calling and making these calls and complaints or these lies about certain scenarios, like I was saying last night, lying on somebody because you might have made some form of mistake with yourself. They're gonna start giving it to you. You lie under oath, you lie on somebody that didn't do something to you. At some point, your ass gonna end up getting that jail time too. And it's time for a lot of y'all to start suffering and taking accountability for the bullshit that you create. Straight up. Yeah, this is how it's gonna be. When you decide to come on and lie and then even come to a point of scamming the people in the community, you're gonna get what's coming to you. So if you want to lie and say that this person did this and this person did that, just know when those receipts are given, you're gonna suffer at some point. It should never get to that point. No need to lie about anything. Not for no clout, not for no attention, and not just because you might have made a mistake. We all are gonna again take losses in life. But it's about learning from those losses and learning not to make those same mistakes again. That situation I just told you about should be a life lesson for some of you women out there who might think to do that. That was a bad example and a prime example of things that are not needed to be broadcasted. Because you try to down the brothers and even try to bash the brothers. It's not a good look. And why is it that some of y'all are so quick to go to a lie or you so quick to create a lie and create confusion? When again, you should just be making better and solid decisions. What's the purpose of lying when that lie is definitely going to unfold? So that's something that some of y'all should think about. You're going to end up suffering consequences. And there are some women who are now facing consequences for things that they have done. I would say for some of y'all, again, if you don't take accountability and accept it, guess what? It's going to come back to bite you in the ass. And you want to know why? Because karma is undefeated. It is. Karma is undefeated. You're going to get it when you least expect it. So think twice before you go out there creating lies and creating misery and spreading rumors. Because in the long run, all of that is going to come back to you. And it's going to come back full force. The mindset again. Start thinking about yourself. Start respecting yourself and don't put yourself in precarious positions. Again, if you decide to make a decision and you knew it was going to be something, or you knew it possibly could have a bad outcome, accept your loss. Take accountability for your actions. And then you move forward, you know? But yeah, time to change that mindset before you end up in a serious scenario like this one. If you want the best of life, you got to be the best in life. And you got to be willing to make the necessary adjustments. And again, be strong and move forward. So I said, be careful with your interactions with people. It's important. It really is. Now, I know this might not be something you want to hear. I might not be the person that you feel should be saying this, but this is something that should resonate in your mind regardless. Don't worry about the messenger. Just worry about the message. You might hear what's being said, but are you really listening? Time for some of y'all to start listening to your inner voice when it comes down to making your decisions and how you move in life. Drop this link in case anybody do want to chime in. I felt this was something that was needed tonight, you know, and hopefully somebody did get something out of this for real. Time for y'all to change the mindset things, you know. Think for yourself, you know. Be very calculated, you know, and making decisions that are needed. Don't go off of emotion. Got to be logical, you know. Make these people taking life as a joke. Every action is a reaction. Exactly, serious. Like I said, look at look at the reaction that was given when that girl lied and said she got hit with a brick. Anybody knows that if you've been hit with a brick or anything along those lines, a brick is still sharp because it does have sharp edges. It is stone or it is cement at the end of the day. So you would have had some form of lacerations or the damages would have been far worse than what it was. But yet and still, everybody was quick to jump the gun and say, oh, the brothers didn't protect the sisters. Let me say this and let me say this the best way possible. If some of y'all would stop putting yourselves in these precarious positions, you won't need protection. And to be quite honest, protection should come when it's marriage involved. If you my wife, oh yeah, I'm gonna protect you. Because that's what a real man is supposed to do for their wife. If I have to lay down whatever, then I'll do whatever, you know. But in the same token, don't put yourselves in positions the way you need that. And some of y'all putting yourselves in these positions because the way again you talk to people. Again, y'all was quick to try to say the brothers don't look out, but look how many brothers we got in the grave right now trying to do the right thing. We don't talk about that part. Look how many young ones right now, again, didn't get a chance to fully live life or probably left a family behind because of trying to defend somebody, trying to play the hero. Some of y'all are so foul and disrespectful. You get the energy you put out. I'm sorry, but it is time for a change. Brothers, if that's not your wife, that's not somebody that you really have a long term anything with, don't be foolish. Put yourself in that position. But if you have to protect, you do what's necessary. But know the whole details before you just jump into anything. We done seen situations where, again, some of y'all lining these brothers up for failure. Then we just have a situation recently with a girl lied and was mad because this dude was, I believe, back with his wife and everything else, or he was with somebody else. My thing is that open relate. I'm gonna talk about that too on another day. That open relationship aspect is, I don't know. In my opinion, that shit ain't worth it. Really ain't worth it. You know, if you want to build with somebody, then there should be no form of outside interference or nobody playing in the middle of what you're building. And again, for some people, hey, if that works for you, that works for you. In my overall opinion, that's a little too much. And we just have a situation where this girl try to send her people to go do something to this dude, and then he unalive one of them. That's what I'm saying. There's some of y'all who are causing chaos and confusion just by saying what you're saying or creating these lies and narratives. Fellas, if you don't start being more aware of certain things, if you don't start questioning certain things, you're gonna fall down that path too. If that's not my wife or my family who's up under my whatever, I'm not jumping out the window for none of y'all. Don't care how you look at it. My life is precious and it's supposed to be preserved. What I look like jumping in to do something, I get unalive. Then now what? You still gonna be moving around? Everything's supposed to be smooth? Oh, again, you just gotta be aware of your interactions with people. And if it don't serve you any form and purpose, then move forward. If you feel there's red flags or if you feel there's some form of imminent danger, you do what's necessary to move forward. But yeah, this is a talk that was needed tonight, definitely. Um, and we need to keep having talks and discussions like this. For those that are new to the channel, or for those who have been a part of, you already know when that link be dropped in, whether it's pinned or not. You already know y'all more than welcome. Like I said, it's good to get different views, opinions, and these things are needed in order to get to a common goal and to get to a common solution that could be conducive for all. Gotta have these talks. Can't be scared to have them either. But again, it's just something to think about. If you're gonna come on and you're gonna do certain things, you gotta be willing to live with those consequences. And if you're doing certain things that's leading people to the hellfire or leading them to early deletion, guess what? When it's all said and done, you're gonna have to live with that. And again, karma is undefeated. Like I said, I've always believed this. You might have made a mistake, but that don't mean everybody has to suffer for your mistakes. You know, take your own accountability. Stop leading off emotions and start thinking more with logic. There was something else I was going to talk about, but I'm gonna definitely save that for another night. I'll save that for either Wednesday or Thursday. We'll see how this pans out. But again, hopefully somebody did get something out of this tonight. You know, that's the most important thing is making sure that the message got out clear. You are responsible for the things that you present in your life. You are responsible for your own safety and happiness. But you also have to be held accountable. And if you made a careless error and it affected somebody, even to the point of almost being unalive, that's something that you're gonna have a hard time dealing with at some point. You will, because it's gonna slowly eat you up. Right now, prime example, Brick Lady has probably been eaten up alive already. And I'm saying that from a standpoint of she's starting to feel the repercussions from her actions. You know, you can't come on and lie about being attacked when nothing happened, and then again try to belittle and basically trash the men for not doing nothing. When again, nothing happened. And for anybody that feels like that's the way that they should move, again, you're gonna find out in the long run you was better off being real with yourself. You know? No, that's the thing. You know, those type of lies and those type of scenarios have severe repercussions. So, if you're willing to go that far, be willing to accept what comes behind it. Another reason why I said change the mindset as well too, and it's time for a change. And I think the times are changing for the good, at least in some instances. I say change up the mindset and change how you move because again, there are things that are being passed. There are bills that are being passed, whether you want to accept it or not. But some of these bills are actually good because again, it'll give structure. It'll also give an eye opener to some who want to be reckless out here. Now, again, two states have already approved that mandatory DNA testing at birth is a must. And I think that's something that's going to be spread around throughout all the states. So for some of y'all women out there that are being loose, guess what? You plan on being irresponsible and it comes to the point of creating life, whoever you thought it was, or whoever you think it is, will have to take that test. And I think that's a good state. It's a good state for it. Why? Because again, hopefully it will stop some of the things that have been happening, like parental fraud. People who are raising kids that are not theirs, so on and so forth. It gives that person a clear range to decide on everything and not be tied down. Some of y'all are willing to still try to be on that notion of trapping somebody to take care of something that isn't their responsibility. So if you know who you laid up with, Even if it was something that shouldn't have happened. Guess what? Not going to be able to just lie and say that this person is the child's fault. Not going to be able to pin the blame on somebody that's not theirs. So better get it together. Now, I always felt like this: if you want to build and have kids with somebody, then be real. And if you already married and is planning on having kids, better be down for that commitment and that ultimate step. And I'm saying that to those who need to hear that, because there are some people who fuck up their own marriages or fuck up something that they got good because they can't just keep it inside. Like I said before, should be no second guesses or second doubts when you moving forward with somebody. And the minute you do feel that, sit down at the table and have a talk and figure out where you move from there. But I feel that this is a good thing. Two states already approved it. The next thing you know, the next 48 probably will. And I think that is important for a person to know if that's truly their child or not. And that works both, that works on both cylinders. Because again, you don't know, you don't, like for you ladies, you don't want to find out your baby was switched at birth. You know how many people find out that their child they thought was theirs wasn't theirs? How you think, that turns out? So again, mandatory DNA testing is important. And for some, again, even if you feel there's doubt, or if you just want to be sure, it ain't hard to get a swab. Not hard to do your own test and get a swab. Because again, it is important. It's important for the right person to be involved with your child. And if you do have the right person that's involved with your child, don't fuck it up. Like I said, don't be quick to run away and don't be quick to push somebody away. You have to sit down and be adults and have these talks. You know? But yeah, again, for some of y'all that's thinking you in the clear, like I said, it's two states down already. The next states are going to be coming. It could be your state next. So if you trying to be irresponsible, or if you think you going to try to pin something on somebody, guess again. So I said, preserve yourself as much as possible. And again, if you don't plan on building with somebody long term, adding the kid to the mix, not going to work. Not going to be conducive at all. You know? Wait a minute. Who the hell is pregnant right now? Who's pregnant up in here? All right, somebody got to start snitching. Who's pregnant up in here? Serious? Really? Christine, which one of y'all been here pregnant? I just started looking back at the chat. Which one of y'all pregnant in this mother? It might be damn Dee ass. I don't know. I don't know. We have mandatory DNA testings at the bar next door. So please make sure you are leaving with your proper baby fathers and baby mothers. Thank you kindly. Yes, thank you kindly. Nah, I'm not no serious. Don't tell me to leave Dee alone. She ain't innocent in this shit. Ain't nobody innocent up in here. Nobody's innocent up in this. Mm-hmm. No, but again, I honestly feel in this si- scenario, and I'm gonna wrap this up in a minute. To be quite honest, I feel that's a major step and a good step, and that's something that should be taken into consideration. Because again, you got 40% of men out here right now who are raising kids that are not theirs, and it's not fair. Especially when they find out the truth. So again, start being truthful with yourself. Don't sit here and think you're going to be irresponsible and place the blame and place the responsibility on somebody that, again, is not technically responsible. But fellas, I would say again, be careful with your interactions as well too, because it could be your luck. You think you got something, or you think you got something good. You might have had a kid with this person, and that person can end up, turning cold on you. Again, you just gotta be wary of your interactions. That's it. Again, some people will make mistakes, but again, the goal is to learn from that mistake and not make it again. So be true to yourself. Be true to the person you're dealing with. And if you're dealing with multiple people, you still gonna have to at some point be truthful. So all of that trying to place blame and place responsibility on somebody that is not, that shit is about to come to an end. And this should make some of y'all think twice again about, again, bringing life into the word. Change the mindset, y'all. But I ain't gonna hold y'all all night. I feel like this is a good conversation. And I will revisit this definitely. And for those that are just tuning in, appreciate y'all. But y'all gonna have to catch the replay. And, you know, again, hopefully somebody did get something out of this. For some of y'all want the best out of life, but what do you really see? And if you know what you see, if you know what's needed, guess what? It's time for you to get on your grind and do what's necessary. But the main thing is be safe. No matter what you're doing in life, who you doing things with, just be careful and be safe. You know? And I appreciate y'all for rocking out, locking in tonight. For those that are getting that late, you can definitely catch this replay. Appreciate those who shared your boy out. And for those celebrating birthdays, I did not forget about y'all. I did not forget about y'all. It is still Scorpio season. So hold on, son. Hold on. And hopefully y'all enjoy your birthday weeks, whatever you may have planned. Another year, another blessing. And again, if you was able to see another year, give your praises where it's due and make the best of every moment. Keep creating memories and keep smiling. You know what it is, though. Appreciate everybody that's been a part of the bill, still becoming a part of the bill. And yeah, we're gonna keep having these conversations. You're gonna have to keep locking down key elements and key points. Because again, it's not about control. It's just about self-preservation. And it's also again about just locking in with the right person. You know? Once you get to a stage of knowing what you need, it shouldn't be that hard for you to find and lock it down. So, but if you know you ain't ready for that, like I said, don't put yourself in that scenario. Always great conversation with the people. Always a blessing to bring something. And yeah, you know, hopefully somebody did get something out of this. Get myself up out of here. Time for me to be an adult. But yeah, um, I'm not back tomorrow. Like I said, it could be back Wednesday with the conversation. Definitely, I definitely want to lock down on this conversation and the link to be pinned in case anybody want to chime in. Hopefully, y'all enjoy the rest of your evenings. Happy early morning to those across seas. And yeah, I still need my lottery numbers for tomorrow today. Damn it, somebody gonna help me out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, let me get myself up out of here. Oh wait a minute, I ain't forget about y'all. I ain't forget about y'all. Can't forget about y'all. Hold on, son.
Ay, 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 ay. Ay, 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 ay.
Hold on 1 second. Let me catch up. My fault, my fault. Hold on 1 second, y'all. Phone acting a little buggy, it's a little buggy. Thank you for always bringing positivity and purpose to the airwaves. This is a great discussion about life lessons. Continue to provide the conversations. You're making headway. Appreciate you, serious baby, and appreciate everybody that again that's been part of this journey and still continuing to be parts of this journey. It ain't easy, because some people come on with good intentions and end up going left. I'm not one of those people. When I have a conversation, it's a conversation that should be thought provoking, you know. And you want to get different views and insights from people. Again, how we gonna ever get to a better stage when we're allowing everything else to control the mindset? Again, you got to be in control of your life. You are responsible again for your happiness, your growth, and your development. And if you're not willing to make the necessary steps to do so, that's where the problems will continue to you know, keep continuing to happen. If you want better, think better and be better. Don't make things so difficult. You know, follow your instinct, and there's nothing that will be out of reach. But yeah, you know, it's a good conversation overall. And again, if I don't see y'all tomorrow, see y'all Wednesday. See y'all Wednesday, definitely. But yeah, let me get my ass up out of here. If y'all was new to the channel, like, share, comment, and subscribe. Shout outs to the replay gang. Shout outs to the Shadow Mafia and the Shadow Babies. Y'all know what it is, baby. Everybody that was in attendance tonight, you already know that love is love and it'll be reciprocated as such. I don't know how to be fake. All I can do is give you real. That's all I'm gonna do is give you real topics and real bills. And you right, serious. You are the author of your own story. You know. But also remember, in your stories, or in any story, you're gonna have good moments, bad moments, and confusing moments. Don't be stuck in confusion. And don't make your decisions just based off of emotions. Be logical and sensible. And things will work out. But yeah, y'all stay safe. Keep that third eye open. Until the next live, we out of here. Peace and blessings.